This is Subtext, a podcast about the psychology behind branding, perception, and human behavior. Here we talk about what happens before decisions feel conscious, the signals we respond to, the biases we don't notice.
And the quiet mechanisms that shape what we trust, choose, and defend. This isn't about trends or tactics.
It's about understanding how the human mind interacts with brands, design, and influence in the real world. If you've ever felt drawn to something before, you could explain why you're in the right place. Welcome to Subtext.
Welcome back to the deep dive.
And our mission today feels particularly crucial for anyone trying to navigate the modern market.
It really does. I mean, if you're listening to this, you're probably striving to be a conscious consumer, right? You want your purchase to align with your values. But the big question is, how do you actually know if the brand is aligned with them too?
That is the defining struggle, isn't it? We've gathered a pretty significant body of research that shows the gap between a brand's marketing promise and its operational reality is not just a gap.
Yeah.
It's often a chasm designed with some pretty sophisticated deception.
Exactly. We aren't just talking about clumsy errors here. We're diving deep into the research on how companies are systematically manufacturing these ethical claims to hide what are fundamentally harmful or unsustainable business models.
And that skepticism you might feel, it's no longer optional, it's become essential. Our sources show a truly stark reality.
Yeah, the numbers are pretty damning.
A whopping 57% of consumers now believe brands engage in greenwashing. And globally, only a shocking 20%, 1 in 5 people, fully trust the sustainability claims that businesses are making.
Wow.
When the level of distrust is that pervasive, the mission sort of shifts. It goes from just finding the good guys to learning how to expose the deception.
Absolutely. So our roadmap for this deep dive is clear. We are going to expose the sophisticated playbook of ethical deception across 5 key areas.
We're looking at how brands fake environmental credentials, how they perform social values without any substance.
How they monetize your conscience by weaponizing consumer guilt, and how they master the art of what our sources call selective disclosure. So let's jump in.
Let's do it.
Okay, so let's unpack this. We have to start with the most recognizable deception, the one that has really evolved into an industry all by itself, greenwashing. And this isn't the clumsy green leaf imagery from a decade ago. This is now a multi-layered, data-driven strategy of misdirection.
It's had to become incredibly sophisticated because the stakes are so much higher now. Consumers and, importantly, regulators are watching, and these environmental claims are linked directly to market valuation.
Right.
The scale of the problem is just substantial, even if the public reporting numbers seem to fluctuate. Our sources noted that in 2024, regulatory bodies worldwide caught 17 major brands making false environmental claims.
17 is a huge number for just the companies that actually got caught.
Yeah.
But you mentioned the numbers are slightly down from 22 the year before. That doesn't really feel like a win for integrity, does it?
It doesn't, and here's the really interesting reason why. We are seeing a fascinating counter trend that the research calls green hushing.
Green hush?
Green hushing. This is where companies facing all this intense scrutiny and the very real legal repercussions of being caught greenwashing, they just retreat. They stop making public environmental claims altogether.
So they decide silence is their best defense.
Exactly. They opt for green hushing over transparency because, in their calculations, silence is safer. It's safer than transparency that might get audited or challenged or lead to a massive fine or a class action lawsuit.
So they might still be doing some things, they're just not going to talk about it because the risk is too high.
They may be, or they may not be. The point is, they stop talking about it because the risk of getting caught exaggerating outweighs any promotional benefit. It's a perfect example of how regulatory enforcement, while totally necessary, can lead to less public information, even if the underlying practices haven't changed at all.
So if the silence is loud, the actual cases that do get caught they're deafening. We have some really concrete examples from 2024 that show exactly how these tactics play out.
We should probably start with Shein. I mean, they are the epitome of fast fashion.
Absolutely.
And they were fined €1 million by Italian authorities for incredibly vague sustainability messaging, just all over the place. But the core hypocrisy, the thing the source material really zeroed in on, was their climate targets.
What about them?
Well, their publicly published greenhouse gas reduction goals directly contradicted their actual operational reality. That reality saw their emissions go up during 2023 and 2024.
Wow. So that is just willful deception. You are telling the market one thing while your own operational reports show the complete opposite.
And it wasn't just overall emissions. They had an entire collection called Evolution by Design, which was making false recyclability claims. It sounds good, evolution.
Yeah, it sounds positive and forward-thinking.
But it's just marketing theater.
Then you have H&M's Conscious Choice line. This is like a masterclass in vague language combined with selective disclosure.
It is. They narrowly escaped a class action lawsuit, and the core complaint was so revealing. This supposedly eco-friendly, sustainable line contained disturbingly high percentages of synthetic materials.
Which are, at their core, derived from fossil fuels.
Exactly. Fossil fuels.
It's the brand equivalent of putting one spinach loaf on a triple cheeseburger and calling it health food. They highlight the tiny amount of recycled poly they used, while the vast majority of the product relies on massive amounts of virgin synthetics.
And Adidas got caught on a claim that was all about proportional deception. It speaks volumes about how they try to manipulate consumers. We're talking about the Stan Smith sneakers case in France.
Right, I remember this one.
France's advertising ethics jury found Adidas guilty of misleading claims. They marketed the shoes as 50% recycled, which, sounds impressive.
Yeah, I would assume that means 50% of the shoe by weight or volume or something.
Precisely what they want you to assume. But the investigations found that only small portions of the frame of the shoe contained recycled materials. Not the majority of the material. It's a deliberate manipulation of the metric.
So the consumer hears 50% recycled and thinks they're making a huge difference when it was basically a lie of omission.
It's leveraging the technical truth of a tiny component to suggest an ethical status for the whole item.
And let's not forget the logistical hypocrisy of their much-hyped ocean plastic trainers. I mean, that was supposed to be the ultimate statement in ocean stewardship.
Oh, the sourcing details on that one revealed the ultimate example of selective disclosure. So they sourced plastic waste from the Maldives. Sounds great. Good for the ocean.
Okay, so far so good.
But then they shipped that waste all the way across the globe to Taiwan for manufacturing.
You're kidding me.
That movement from the Maldives to Taiwan and then out to the global consumer market, it embedded a massive unacknowledged carbon footprint right into the solution they were marketing as green. It showed a complete disregard for the environmental cost of their own supply chain.
Moving into high-tech, we see the same problem of ignoring the bigger picture with Apple. The Apple Watch was ordered by German courts to stop claiming it was carbon neutral.
Yes, and the reason ties back to what so many companies strategically omit.
Scope 3 emissions.
Scope 3 emissions. This is perhaps the single most significant loophole in all of corporate environmental reporting.
So for our listener, we call Scope 3 the blind spot, but let's be specific about what it actually means in a tech context.
Okay, so Scope 1 and 2 emissions are the easy ones to count. They're the emissions from running your own buildings, your company cars. Scope 3 is everything else.
The messy stuff.
The messy, vast, hidden footprint. For a tech company, that means manufacturing all those tiny, complex components, the microchips, the batteries, the rare earth mineral extraction. It's the entire product life cycle, the transportation, and finally the disposal of the product years later.
So if you ignore the emissions from your whole supply chain, you're ignoring, what, like 95% of your carbon story?
At least. Claiming neutrality without addressing that is essentially meaningless.
And Delta Airlines faced similar scrutiny for its carbon-neutral flights program. They tried to use offsets, but the math just didn't add up.
That's right. Investigations revealed that the carbon offset projects they were relying on, the actual reforestation or conservation efforts that were meant to compensate for the jet fuel, they just weren't delivering the promised verifiable emissions reduction.